welcome to a new video, and today I will teach you how does the subjunctive work in Spanish. You might know that this is a really difficult topic, and I know and I understand, but don't worry, I got you. Alright, so let's start with this. First of all, if you're a native speaker of English, you will not have an idea of what it is because it doesn't exist in English. If you do speak French, though, it is easier because it does exist in French as well. However, we're gonna focus solely in English speaking people, or if you speak French anyway, this will be useful in any other way. It will be easier for you because, as I said before, this is easier for you. However, let's start to understand what is the subjunctive. So the subjunctive tense is basically nothing but a tense that we use when we talk about hypothetical things or certain cases, which we're gonna see in a bit. Today we're gonna focus only on the present tense of the subjunctive. There's a past tense, but there's no future tense for subjunctive because there's not. However, today we're gonna focus only on the present tense, and this is the table, which, by the way, again, if you got access to this video, you also get access to this PowerPoint so you can practice and see the tables. However, once again, this is how it's conjugated. Basically, is exactly the same way as we conjugate the present tense, as you already know, but the only difference is that we're gonna change the vowel. The only thing we're gonna do is changing the vowel. So if normally we'd say in yo hablo, como, vivo, that's the indicative. This case is just o, but the verb, it's, for example, hablar ends with a. Normally we'd say que hable, comer, que coma, vivir, que viva. So as you see, we switch the vowel, all right, the opposite vowel of the real verb. Now, well, you notice that I used the que in the beginning. This is because most of the subjunctives will have a que before it. Not all the subjunctives need a que, but when a conversation, normally we use the que, all right. With tu is an easier way of understanding it because in the indicative, all right, you can see here, it does have an ending with hablas, comes, vives, and you can clearly see how we switch the vowel. So hablas, hables, comas, comas, vives, vivas. So basically just switch the vowel. You can see, by the way, that yo, él, ella, usted, they are in green, meaning they have the same conjugation. The others have independent conjugations like nosotros, hablamos, comemos, vivimos. But once again, the same rule applies. You just switch the vowel. Therefore, nosotros, no, que hablemos, que comamos, que vivamos. See? By the way, we never use the person before when subjunctive, right? We never say nosotros hablemos. No, we just say que hablemos, that we talk. In a moment, we're going to see the usages. For now, we're understanding the conjugations. Everything goes step by step. This first part is about understanding the conjugations, all right? And why are they like this, okay? Then, usted, ustedes, and ellos, again, they share the same conjugation, not only in the indicative, but also in the subjunctive. Once again, just switch the vowel. Now, there are irregular verbs. There are plenty of them in the present tense, as you can see. There are many, all right, but they're easy. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they are exactly the same irregular verbs that you will have in the present tense. If you don't know or you don't remember well, just check down here. I will give you a link to memorize all the irregular verbs that we have in the present tense. But to do a quick example so you understand the logic, we're gonna focus in the green kind. All right, I divided in kinds. All right, so we're gonna focus. Sorry, not in the green kind. We're gonna focus in the yellow kind. All right, my bad. But the yellow kind, basically, it's exactly the same as the present tense, but just with a small variance. So, for example, we have the verb hacer, which you already know it means to do. Normally, in the present tense, it means hago. And you already know that when I say hago, I do. The rest of the conjugated persons are normal. They are not irregular. So we'd say yo hago, tú haces, él, ella, usted hace, nosotros hacemos, ellos hacen, vosotros hacéis, and so on. All right. Here though, what we're gonna do is similarly like in the present tense, we're gonna say instead of hago, haga, but we're gonna give that irregularity to all of them. So not only hago and haga, but haga, hagas, haga, hagamos, hagáis, hagan. And this will be the same with all those verbs that the first person ends in go, like decir, digo, therefore diga, digas, diga, digamos, digáis, digan. Seguir, sigo, sigas, siga, sigamos, sigáis, sigan. Venir, vengo, venga, vengas, venga, vengamos, vengáis, vengan. Tener, tengo, tenga, tengas, tengamos, tengáis, tengan. Poner, pongo, ponga, pongamos, pongáis, pongan. So once again, all those verbs, decir, to say, seguir, to keep or to continue, venir, to come, tener, to have, poner, to put, they all are irregular in the first person in the present tense and they end in o. In the subjunctive, they will all end in ga or gamos, guys, but the same idea. I think you got it. It's just about practicing. Remember, practice makes master, so you gotta practice. Here are some examples, all right, of some verbs. You can check the verb to go. It's completely irregular, you already know, and it's vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vayan. You can focus on this one in one of the activities I'll send you, but the verb to go is completely different to the others. Remember always that, like yo voy, tú vas, vamos, vais. It's always different in all the tenses. But remember, not because a verb is irregular in a tense, it means it will also be irregular in other tense. It doesn't mean that. It always, each tense has their own irregulars. Maybe that some irregulars are irregular in the present, in the future, or in the future in the past, but that's only a coincidence. Although with the verb to go, it's always irregular in all tenses. So yeah, that's only the only thing I can say. Now let's talk about the situations, all right? There are some situations that will require you to use the subjunctive. Now, have in mind, you don't need the subjunctive to talk about these situations, but it's more fluent and you sound more native when you use it, and it's more accurate as well. Because if you don't use the subjunctive, you will need to use more words to say the same thing, and you will save more time if you just use the subjunctive. So let's talk about the situations. We can see here some situations. We have the first one, which is, I'm gonna just tell you the situations and then we're gonna go one by one. We have petition, petición, orden, okay, an order, permiso, permission, prohibición, prohibition, recomendación, recommendation, posibilidad, possibility, and duda, doubt, okay? By the way, quick trick, and I will give you another video about the tricks about learning Spanish easier. All words that end in ción are exactly the same as in English. That, you know, they just end in Asian. So if you talk about solution, solución, prohibition, prohibición, action, acción, relation, relación, etc. But we're gonna cover that in another video, just so you remind this kind of stuff, so you remember it. Sorry. However, let's talk about the first one, petition. So anytime you want or someone else wants to do a petition to you, or you want to do a petition to someone, you must use the subjunctive. Example, here we have three verbs that mean, you know, that are used as a petition. Pedir, to ask, rogar, to beg, solicitar is also to ask, but more formal, especially when you ask for documents to the government or to the police, or something you're requiring more than you asking, but of course you asking it, but more formal wise. However, here I gave you example in which we can use in a real life situation. Te ruego, I beg you, que vengas a recogerme al aeropuerto. So this irregular verb here, it's venir, to come, it's subjunctive and it's irregular. Have in mind that, of course, if you don't remember the irregulars, you have the table around here, and to remember that the verb venir is to come, and if you remember that yo vengo, it's I come, therefore vengas is the subjunctive way, all right? So te ruego que vengas a recogerme al aeropuerto. I beg you to come to pick me up to the airport. Alright? This is a situation in which you will use it. Again, I can try not to use it, and I would just say, te ruego, alright, venir a recogerme al aeropuerto. But this, it's a little bit too formal, and nobody does talk like this. Well, you can. Te ruego venir a recogerme al aeropuerto, but to be honest, if you want to sound like a native and more correct, you would say, te ruego que vengas, because it's a bit more imperative as well, okay? Next one is when someone gives an order, or you give an order, or somebody order you to do something. Exigir, exigence, when somebody gives you an exigence, another verb. But an example, this, when I tell, because it's not an order, I'm just saying that someone told me to do something. Example, tú me ordenas que haga este trabajo. Again, hacer, irregular, no? So we say haga, because the regular verb is hago. So you order me to do this job, all right? Tú me ordenas que haga este trabajo. All right, so this is another example. Next example is permission. We have dejar or permitir, okay? To let, to permit. When you allow someone, dejar is to allow, to let. So yo te dejo que vuelvas tarde esta noche. I allow you to come back late tonight. Once again, volver is irregular in this case because it's vuelvo, vuelvas, no? Vuelves is irregular with the vowel changing, although it's not irregular in general in the subjunctive, but it's logical that if it's irregular with the vowel changing also will be a case when you talk about the subjunctive, all right? Next one is prohibition. So another example we have here is te han prohibido que comas tantos dulces. So they have forbid you that you eat that many candy. So here when you say that someone forbids you or prohibited you to do something, that thing that they forbid you has to be subjunctive, in this case to eat. Normally you would say te han prohibido que comes tantos dulces. Or if you once again you want to try to be not subjunctive, te han prohibido comer tantos dulces. Once again, that is also correct. They have forbid you to eat that many candy, but in a conversational real life situation, you might use que comas tantos dulces. See? Then recommendation, it's the most important, subjunctive, because normally you give advice and you use this. So recomendar or aconsejar, when we give advice, we normally use subjunctive. So I give you a recommendation to you all guys. Os recomiendo que vengáis a Peñíscola. So I recommend you guys to come to Peñíscola. Once again, we already talked about venir, which is irregular. Yo vengo, therefore vengáis. The next one is poder, right? The possibility, something that can be. And normally we use the verb puede que or quizás, right? Which is maybe or it can be. So puede que vaya a Madrid, pero no lo sé aún. See? It might be that I go to Madrid, but I don't know yet. All right? That's the thing. Again, ir, it's irregular. We just discussed right before it's completely irregular. And if you forgot how it's conjugated, just go a few minutes back and you will see how it's conjugated. However, you will have all this data under this video and you will be able to check it out. And the last one is doubt. So dudar, to doubt. Whatever you doubt is subjunctive. Dudo que salga bien. I doubt that it come out well. Again, salir bien. Salir bien is an expression we use to say that something will come out well or will be okay. So dudo que salga bien. Once again, salga, because the regular of yo in the present tense is salgo. Therefore, we use salga in the subjunctive. I'm going to use another example in which we don't use a regular. Dudo que quieras ir a comer. So I doubt that you want to go eat. Well, here it's not a regular verb, but quieres is the indicative. In this case, we just switch the vowel for the opposite vowel, which is the A. The opposite of A is E. The opposite of E, it's A. As simple as that. And E and I conjugate together. Therefore, the opposite of E and I, it's A. And the opposite of A, it's E. All right? Okay. All right. Now, more situations. All right, I'm sorry, guys, but this is a complex topic. That's why you need to check this video multiple times, as much as you need, and pay close attention. Feelings and sensations, sentimientos y sensaciones. Yes, every single time we talk about our feelings or our sensations, what we feel, what you basically feel, we're gonna use subjunctive. All right. So we have divided here some feelings, sentimientos. All right. So we have gustar, sentir, lamentarse, alegrarse. All right. We have many, but when we want to express that feeling, we might use subjunctive. One example is when you're sorry for something. Normally, when we are sorry about something, not just say perdón or lo siento, but I'm sorry that I did this to you. I'm sorry I broke your heart. Or I'm sorry that you couldn't come. So you say something like siento que no puedas venir. Usually you would say siento que no puedes venir, but again, we switch the vowel. Lamento, I lament. No, I'm sorry again. Que tu padre esté enfermo. Once again, it should be está, but since we're talking about a sensation, in this case a feeling, we should say esté. When you like something, by the way, you might use subjunctive. Me gusta que limpies la casa a menudo. I like that you clean the house often. Anything that you actually say that you like about someone will be subjunctive, always the verb, right? So me gusta que hables español. Me gusta que pienses mucho. Me gusta que seas inteligente. Me gusta que quieras aprender, el subjuntivo. All those, subjunctive, right? So here, not gonna read more. You can see it later. But let's move to sensations. The sensations are always subjunctive. Something that makes you feel nervous, the thing that makes you feel nervous will be subjunctive. So normally for talking about your sensations, you might use me pone or tengo or me da. Depending of the sensation, normally we might say me da, all right, or me pone. So in this case, for example, we use me pone nervioso, like it sets me nervous, or just I feel nervous, or makes me nervous that you talk. So the fact that you talk makes me nervous. Me pone nervioso que hables. Once again, you say hablas, but in this case, we simply say que hables. When you're scared in Spanish, we say me da miedo. It gives me fear, right? That's how we say it. And therefore, me da miedo que, what is the thing that makes you scared? Whatever it is, it's subjunctive. In this case, is to go por la calle tan tarde. No? Me da miedo que vayas por la calle tan tarde. Is, it gives me fear, or it makes me scared that you go on the street that late. Me da igual. Me da igual is an expression meaning it gives me the same, or pretty much I don't care. And the thing that you don't care will be subjunctive. So me da igual que vengas o que no vengas. So I don't care if you come or not. So it gives me the same if you come or not. So anytime you talk about subjunctive, you always conjugate the verb that is being addressed. In this case, to come. So if come comes twice it has to be subjunctive. All right. So that's pretty much it with this. But with the using the emotions, remember we use tengo as I am, like tengo frío, I'm cold. Me da as it makes me feel something. So me da pena, it makes me shy. All right. When using feelings, you say estoy. All right, like estoy devastado, or right, other things. Anyway, this is the whole explanation of the subjunctive. I hope it made sense to you. If not, please give me a comment under below or send me a message telling me, hey Mark, it didn't help at all, I don't understand, and I will give you a new video. I'll give you a better explanation, and of course all the resources will be down below so you can practice. Remember, you have a week to reach me out, and I will assess any doubts you have 24 hours, unless I'm sleeping of course, but when I wake up I will answer immediately. Thank you for getting this video. Have a nice day or night wherever you are. See you soon. Ciao.